our youth, maybe they're searching in the wrong places for this mentorship.
How has the youth changed 18 years ago until now?
I don't know if it's changed for the better. Time changes. Values change. What was important 20 years ago is not important now. You know, I'm going to be very honest with you right here. I had a kid, we had practice, and usually I pulled up before everybody. This kid was there, like on the stairs of the building. Through our conversations, he had slept out there. It breaks my heart.
How do you deal with the drug situation specifically?
I've been one that's given chances. Maybe this is a fault of mine, and over my time, I've given too many chances. I truly, truly believe that at some points, it did hinder the team, but I just could not see myself quitting on a kid. I may have kicked him out of practice or kicked him off the team, but I've always had a coach that would go bring them back.
What are the best motivators that you've seen for the past 18 years? Did it affect your personal life? Speaking of losing, did you ever win a state championship with Fordson?
There is a regret. That is a huge regret.
Does it stink?
100%. 100% it stings.
Were you not scared that I'm away from my kids, I'm at work, just like my father was?
Wow, I never thought about that. I don't tell anybody this. I catch myself sometimes looking in the mirror and boom, it's like I seen him. Sorry.
I see a lot of resemblance between sports and real life. There's a lot of similarities, and the leader in a sports team is the captain, but also the coach. Haj Fouad coached Fordson High School for 18 years, and he just announced his retirement. There is so much to learn from an individual that was housing kids, the most populated Muslim Arab American city in the United States. That comes with a lot of challenges. That comes with a lot of obstacles. This conversation was about 2 hours long, and it could have went on for another 2 hours. There was so much stuff to cover, from his childhood, him losing his father, him losing his mentors, going into coaching. There's this 31 years of him being in sports and teaching and around kids that is inspiring, because that type of work is not rewarding financially, but it's rewarding on a spiritual level. When you see kids get out of trouble, when you see kids doing good in life, when you see kids avoiding drugs. If you're from Dearborn, you've probably already heard so much about Haj Fouad. And if you're not from Dearborn, this is the perfect introduction to a figure that has influenced and inspired generations of Arab American Muslims. And I'll keep it at that, and I'll let him do the rest of the talking. If you haven't subscribed yet, the free and most simple way to support this podcast is to subscribe, hit the like button, comment, let me know what you think. With that being said, let's get the show started.
Welcome aboard Middle East Airlines.
والمتوجهة إلى
طيران الشرق الأوسط يرحب
مدينة القدس العربية.
Fouad, I always start the conversation with self-introduction. And the reason I do this is I can go on and tell people about you, but if they look online, they'll probably find the same things as I am saying. So it's not that interesting, in my opinion. I think what's more interesting is you introducing yourself in the way that you see yourself. So if you look in the mirror, who is Fouad to Fouad?
It's very simple. Okay, first of all, you said Haj Fouad. I'm Fouad. Okay. Or for many people, I'm Walker. So that's as simple as that. How I see myself as a father. I see myself as a husband. And for a while, I was a teacher and I was a coach. So that's my life. You know, I try to be the best son as possible as well. You know, my dad passed away, let's say more than 20, 25 years ago.
Okay.
And my mom is very special to me. So I try to be the best that I can with my siblings and my mom. So it's very simple. I don't see myself as anything other than that.
Why do they call you Walker?
So that kind of started when I was younger, and we were with our cousins and our friends, and we always used to ride our bikes everywhere. And one day I just got sick and tired of it, and I just put it aside, and I would meet them by walking to wherever we were meeting, whether the park or the basketball courts or the pool or whatever it was. And ultimately that grew because sometimes I would walk from the south end of Dearborn to Fordson High School to watch games or to practices or whatever it was. So
Why?
why would I walk?
Yeah.
A lot of times we didn't have rides.
Okay.
So we did a lot of walking, riding the bike, and I would have to be honest in this, and we would jump on the train to get a ride on the train, which was very dangerous, and I don't recommend anybody doing this, and on the ride back home. So,
Oof.
yes.
I was telling you a little bit before we started that I moved here 6 years ago. So the whole South End, East Dearborn, West Dearborn is still new to me, kind of. Like I never understood what it means, what South End means until like I started talking to my guests, and a lot of them were raised in the South End, and they told me like it's one of the poorer parts of town. Can we say that?
Yeah, I would probably say that. Yes.
Okay, and a lot for people that are outside of Dearborn that are listening, that's where a lot of the older generation moved to when they came to America.
Yes.
Growing up in the less fortunate part of town, let's just call it, how do you think shapes someone's personality?
Quite honestly, I can't tell you that we felt growing up in a poorer side of town. That was never something that we focused on. It was just, this is the way we grew up. You know, maybe until much later into adulthood did we realize that, hey, we were poor, you know. But our parents were always there. Our father, I probably didn't see my dad too much because he was always working or trying to work, you know. And then not till many years later, I found out that my mom would work. She would get up in the middle of the night, take the train, not the train, excuse me. She would take the bus to downtown Detroit, and she would go clean a restaurant that my uncle used to manage. It was called the London Chop House at the time. So, like, to me, as a kid growing up, I never knew that. Not until my, I would say maybe early 20s did I find out that this is what she did, you know. Aside from my father working and trying to provide for the family. So honestly, I did not feel that we were poor, but until many years later did we realize that we were, we weren't as blessed as many others. We were blessed with the way we were raised. We were blessed with the people that we were surrounded with, our relatives that lived in the area, our friends that were from the area, from the South End. The South End, you grew up as a family. It did not matter if you were Muslim, if you were Christian, if you were Arab, if you were Italian, Polish. There was a lot of diversity there. And some of my really good friends that I grew up were non-Arabs. And some of my really good friends were Palestinian and Yemeni, for example. And I'm part Palestinian. So it wasn't just family that was there. And it wasn't just your kind that was there, But we didn't even think of it. I can't tell you. So to answer your question, I can't really pinpoint at one thing because we just grew up and we were raised in the South End, and everybody was the same.
You said when you grew up, you realized that, like you said, you realized later on that your mom was working at night. Why do you think your mom thought it was necessary to not let you know at a young age that she was working at night?
A very good question. Honestly, I don't know if I have an answer for that. I just feel that she was trying to do the best that she can to raise her family. And that was during the day while my dad was gone. And I think she was trying to also help as much as possible with being able to provide for the family. You know, God bless my dad. He worked his butt off. You know, he tried to, he did work. He worked at, I want to say Chrysler for a while. He tried to have get a job at Ford's. He worked in a gas station. He managed a gas station, actually, that I'm working at right now for my uncle, you know, for the longest time, you know. But it was just part of life, you know. It was just the way things were. And no one would kind of say, this is why I'm doing this and this is why I'm doing that. And my mom never even said to this day, she never said, this is why, you know, I'm doing this. And this is why I kept it from you guys. No, it was just that she was trying to do her part. My dad was trying to do his part. And it was just second nature to us.
What do you think are the most important things that your mother and father tried to implement at a young age? Because you say she never felt the need to tell you that I'm leaving in the middle of the night to go clean this restaurant. Your father is a hard worker. That doesn't happen by accident. It feels like they knew exactly what they were doing. And there is a purpose from that. What are so that's what's making me curious about the values that your parents are trying to implement in you. So what do you think those values were?
Well,
at a
I
young
believe
age?
some of those values are hard work, you know, our discipline, our caring, you know, trying to be, you know, the family values as far as, I mean, religion was big with my parents. They were always there. And I questioned a lot, you know, when it came to religion. I questioned a lot. And I did a lot of research for myself, you know. I didn't just take what was told to me, you know, because I had friends from different backgrounds, different, you know, they were diverse religions, diverse nationalities. So I questioned a lot when it came to that. But I believe that was, you know, played a key role in how they raised us. And if you follow Islam and if you read about Islam and you read in the Quran, it teaches you. I mean, you know, it provides those, the manners, the values, you know, the structure of a family. So I believe that really helped in the way we were raised. And I really believe it has helped myself in the way I try to carry myself and how I've tried to live my life. So I really thank them greatly for that. And I thank Allah for blessing me with such parents that has allowed me or taught me to grow in this respect. You know, unfortunately, you have a lot of parents that, you know, that maybe don't necessarily believe or follow any faith. It doesn't. I'm not just pinpointing Islam right now. Any faith, you know, and they don't have the values of a family structure or teaching, the morals and all of that. So I just feel that I'm blessed that this is the way they were and this is how I grew up.
I know a lot of you guys watch this podcast with a cup of coffee in hand. That's how I watch my podcast episodes. So I'm going to put you guys on this coffee brand. Watani Coffee. Now, Watani is an Arabic word that means my country. They're sourced from South and Central America. They're small batch roasted before they ship, which means they arrive very, very fresh. And you know that acidic feeling that you get when you drink some types of coffee? Watani uses premium beans, so you don't have to worry about that. And my absolute favorite thing about Watani Coffee is that 100% of the proceeds of the profits go straight to the families in need in Lebanon. They have 4 roasts: Beirut Bliss, Fajr Flow, the Cedar, and even a decaf option in the Sahara blend. And to get Watani Coffee, there's 2 ways we can do this. You either go to watanicoffee.com, shop around for your favorite roasts, or just click the link in the description below. So go grab some beans that'll make your cup of coffee taste really good and make your conscience feel even better. And now, back to the episode. Haj, when you're growing up, a big chunk of who you are is, I feel, your 20s. And I feel that personally because I'm in my 20s now, and I feel like this is the time where I'm kind of waking up to the world and how the world works and all these things. You just mentioned that you lost your father about 25 years ago.
Yes.
So that would mean you were in approximately your 20s?
I want to say late 20s. Late 20s, probably 29, 30.
How does that affect you? Because that's still very young.
Sorry. My dad, like I said, when I was younger, he was busy. He was working. He was trying to provide. So I never really had that relationship, with my dad. It was my mom. My mom was the one that was there all the time. Now, don't get me wrong. I still had a relationship with my dad. I still seen him, but it was easier to communicate with my mom than it was with my dad. Mind you, my dad was very nice, extremely nice. Never raised his voice that I can remember. Why I get emotional is because right before he passed, we were building that relationship. We were building that bond. We would, and something that I really, one of the last things that I remember with him is that we were going to listen to a lecture together, for example, at the mosque. So that was special. And I wish I had more of that. So this is why I got emotional. It's because of that, and I feel that I kind of missed out on that, So, yeah, so I think, right around that time, it is a very crucial time. I don't know. I kind of...
Yeah. Allah yarhamu.
Allah
yarhamu. I mean, there's a lot to talk about there because you ended up going and coaching a football team. And for anyone that knows anything about a coach, a lot of these kids look at the coach as their father figure. On the field, you're telling them what to do, you're telling them the game plan. When they're slacking, you have to be the one that's in their ear. Why you're slacking, even if it's their grades.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that you would walk up to them. Why? So, do you think that incident of losing your father and that crucial point when you were just clinging on to that relationship and building it made you want to be a father figure for other kids, and that kind of drove you towards football?
Wow. It's pretty deep. We're going to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
So go back to the South End. South End, we had a place called the Hamoud Center. Okay? And Allah yarhamun, there was Joe Hamoud. It was named after Joe Hamoud, who was a great athlete, and he played college basketball. He went to Fordson. He played college basketball at Houston, him and his brother Niemer, God rest his soul as well. And this place was named after him. And he also played in professional basketball, which is what was called the ABA before the NBA. So this place was named after him, and we were lucky enough, since the South End is kind of secluded, like the West End and East End kind of are connected,
Right.
The South End is kind of secluded with that Miller Road, and you have the bridge and all of that. So we were kind of secluded. So we had that. We had our own pool. We had that place was a rec center for us. Like they had the Civic Center on this side of town. They had that as our rec center. And the person that was involved there that kind of ran it as I was growing up was Ali Berry, Popeye. He played a very, very key role in me growing up as well. I had my parents. And then he played a huge role as far as the athletics, as far as the sports did. And he would take us to games. He would take us to Tiger game, the Detroit Tigers. We would have like little basketball leagues or football leagues before you had like the hype, for example, and all of that. We had that at that place, and he ran it. So that played a key role in me enjoying athletics, sports. Going to Fordson, I gravitated to the athletics as well. And those coaches that were there played a key role in me developing maybe my skills, and played a key role in me becoming a coach, I think.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
I enjoyed our interactions, our relationships, our friendships, our bonds that we built with them. And it was actually them, as I came back from college, that persuaded me to go into coaching.
Okay.
So I went into teaching, and then obviously I was torn. I wanted to be a CPA. I wanted to go into accounting, and I didn't like it. You know, I took a lot of business classes. My minor ended up being in business administration, but I didn't enjoy it. So they kind of geared me, hey, why don't you try going into teaching and then come back and coach? And this is how it happened. So aside from Popeye playing a major role in me growing up into my teenage years, my coaches, Coach McIntyre, Coach Justice, Coach Stragalis, Coach Shoshanian, Coach George Lewis, those guys played a key role in me coming back and going into coaching.
So he was kind of that father figure away from home, Popeye.
Absolutely, absolutely. And mind you, this was not just me. He did not play that role just for myself. There's many youth or guys that are my age, God rest his soul too, he had passed away. That he had played a role for as well.
Did he pass away before or after your father passed away?
After.
Yeah. So do you go to him after your father passes away and now you're reminiscing on your father, but do you go and tell this to your other father figure per se?
We've had a lot of deep conversations.
Okay.
We were there for each other in many instances. His mom had passed away while I believe I was in my senior year of high school. And, you know, I was there for him. So, although he was older, you know, I mean, his mom is his mom, you know. She was very special to him. And then I think vice versa for me. When my dad passed away, he was there for me.
How can you be there for someone that's older than you, that is grieving? Because we kind of look at our elders as the wise between us, you know, like they're the ones that give us advice. They're the ones that are there for us. We never look at ourselves and be like, oh, I want to be there for Hajj. I'm like, Hajj will be there for me because you're the wise man. So how do you kind of help him go through grieving as a young soul?
Habibi Jaafar, I think in those times, it's not about saying the correct thing or the perfect thing. Sometimes in those times, it's just being there. Maybe just having a shoulder to lean on. Could be a hug, you know. It could be as simple as that. So it doesn't have to be a word that you say or a sentence that you say, or it doesn't have to be an advice that you say. It just, sometimes it could just you being present for them. Maybe you cry with them, you know. It could be as simple as that.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be, you know, something that's
like a pep talk.
Yeah.
But you said that you did have deep conversations with him, and he did have those with you. What are said in those types of conversations?
Well, obviously, my conversations to him at his time of grief, I didn't have the knowledge per se, and it was just the moral support. And maybe, some of our conversations was just about speaking about who my dad was, how he was, because they had built a relationship. Him, my father, and my mother had built a relationship, a very good and healthy relationship. So, and just him maybe telling me a story here or there, that I can remember, that we spoke about, or, hey, I'm here for you, whatever you need. And he was always there for me anyway. So it was those types of things. There wasn't, I just can't say that there was, this life-changing moment because he said something.
Yeah.
Every day was a life-changing moment with him or my parents, for that example.
You would get advice from him every day.
Definitely.
What are some of the advice that you still carry with you today that you can relate directly back to him?
Honestly, it ended up being my whole career.
Okay.
My whole professional career was part of the advice or the act the way he was, Obviously, the coaching was a big aspect of it. Treating people with kindness and respecting everyone. Believing everyone is the same, and it didn't matter. And that was, he played a huge role with that, with the way he treated all of the kids in the South End at the Hamoud Center.
It's inspiring, really.
I as much as I tell you, you won't get the whole gist of it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It's hard to fathom that in that part of town, there's someone that dedicated.
There was multiple people.
Yes.
There was multiple people there. Tommy Shami, for example, was another person that was heavily involved with the youth. He ended up being a teacher as well. And he's another one that has inspired a lot of kids as well. But there was many guys that were in the South End, maybe a little older than us, and maybe around, Tommy Shami's age, Allah Yarhamu Papa's age, that played a role in developing and help raising a lot of the youth from my generation.
It almost goes to show how important having a mentor in a way is. Like you have that relationship and it stays forever. Like you're talking about decades removed from that, and you're still talking about this gentleman. Do you feel like it's become harder for people to find mentors? I say this, Haj Kirmel, I see this world being consumed by the materialistic. That's why it's inspiring when I hear stories like that. It's someone was willing to dedicate themselves for the greater good, for these children. I don't see too many people that are willing to do that nowadays, especially like my age, a little older. We are consumed by the materialistic. The world has changed, and I don't know how many people I know that have mentors like the ones you just mentioned.
I think I have to agree with you in this aspect. Society has changed. And I don't know if it's changed for the better. I will say that is one thing that our youth, maybe they're searching in the wrong places for this mentorship. Maybe they're not even searching for a mentorship. And maybe those people that we were talking about, it was just natural for them to be who they were and become mentors without us knowing that they were mentors. or mentoring us.
Yeah.
It was second nature. And in all honesty, I can tell you right now, like, people will say that I was a mentor for these youth, for these kids. I never looked at it that way.
It wasn't in the back of your head.
It wasn't. I was doing this to be their mentor. I was doing this because I feel this is the best way to help the youth. This is the best way that I know how. I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not the richest guy. I'm not the, I don't know. I mean, there's many more people out there. You have our great mayor, Abdullah Hammoud, for example. That's a prime example right there.
Yeah.
Wallah, I like Rashida Talib to me. She's amazing, for what she's doing, standing up for what's right, like we have Mike Serini, Hajj Mike Serini. He's on the school board, for example. And then you want to talk about Imad, Elzaya, Imo. Look what he's doing. Haji Najah with what she's done.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people there that people can look at and see, and those are the right mentors for them. But I don't know if they're searching for that.
Okay.
And then for me, it was just a part of my life. It was my profession. This is what I chose to do. And I only knew how to do it one way. I didn't say, okay, I'm going to be a mentor for this. Does it happen? Absolutely, it happens. Do you build those relationships? Absolutely, you build those relationships. Do you build a bond? Absolutely, you build a bond. But I was going to teach them what I felt was the right way. Have I listened to a lot of, have we had a lot of conversations? Have we agreed and disagreed? Absolutely. There's things that, that maybe that they bring to me that I didn't agree with, that they've convinced me and they've taught me,
Yeah.
So it's a working relationship. And I say, alhamdulillah, that I've had this great opportunity to do that. But I don't look at myself as a mentor. I look at those people that I just mentioned and probably the many more that are out there. Sam Beydoun, there's another person that's in the political arena, So there's a lot of people out there that you can look. Look at all the lawyers that we have. Look at all the doctors that we have. Pharmacists. We are blessed in this community. I truly believe that. So there's a lot of people. If you're looking for mentors, there's a lot of people out there for you to have a mentor.
I see what you're saying.
But I don't look at myself.
Yeah. But probably a lot of people do. But I think that's what you're saying is you don't look at yourself like that and it just happens naturally. I want to know how different, because you primarily coached the youth, how has the youth changed 18 years ago until now? Have you seen this shift of behavior, attitude? Were they more responsive 18 years ago than they are now? Or maybe 10 years ago, something happened where you started realizing hey, wait, no, something's weird that's going on. I used to tell them one thing last season, and now they're not responding to it.
It's funny. It's a really good question. Just like in all other things, time changes. Values change. Society changes. What was important 20 years ago is not important now, for example. Behavior has changed. Culture has changed. And yes, we've had those instances where when I first started, and I forget the coaching, the teaching aspect. I'm going to be very honest with you right here. The teaching aspect. When I told a kid, hey, you better stop. Boom, they stopped. By the time I was done, I would call home and the parent would blame me. So there was a change here.
So now they would call and blame you.
They wouldn't call. I would even call. And they would say, well, you handled this situation wrong. You should have did it differently. Whatever the situation was.
18 years ago, you would have told them something.
Well, we're talking about 30 years ago, because I
ago.
started teaching, 30 some years ago.
Wow.
By the 30th year, yeah, it was a little different. So that kind of took me aback. I was taken aback, and I was surprised with how things have kind of changed.
What do you think happened?
Well, the only thing I can say is the values at home, I remember when we were in school, if a teacher called, my parents didn't even speak, my mom, because this is who it was. If she got a phone call, she didn't even understand. I would go home and I would get in trouble. I don't want to say get beat, but I would get in trouble. You understand?
Yeah.
Because the teacher in our culture back home had played a very important role. And as time went on here, I don't believe our parents see that like they once did. So I think there was a shift there. And I don't know. People seem to they want to defend their kids right away. Their kids don't do wrong. Instead of asking, listening, understanding what's happening before making a decision. So that was kind of, from one end to the other end. There was issues. I can remember this vividly when the earring was a big thing for kids to wear earrings, for boys to wear earrings. If I seen a kid, I would tell him, hey, you got to take that off, And they would. They would have either be scared or enough respect to say, yes, I'm going to take it off. It got to a point where I'm going to call it. They wouldn't listen. They wouldn't take it off. Okay. I'm going to call your parents. Go ahead, call my parents. And you call the parents and say, please help me. I can't. He won't listen to me. So those things started shifting that way.
How do you kind of adjust to that? Because whether you like it or not, you're in this position where for a couple hours a day, you are the authority figure in these kids' life, and in good conscience, you want to guide the child or the teen to do better, right? So how did you kind of shift with that and adjust to that?
Honestly, I don't think you have a choice. I don't think you have a choice but to adjust and to shift, unless you want to get in trouble.
But how would you talk to them differently? What ways have you picked up?
So when it came to the earring, for example, the earring thing, I wouldn't bother them anymore. I wouldn't say anything anymore.
Okay.
Because I knew that if I don't have support from home, or if their parents aren't going to be able to do anything, what am I going to do? Now, the way I would attack it is differently. Habibi, this is not the best impression. It's not good. Whatever it is. And it didn't have to be the earring thing.
Yeah.
It could have been any other thing that they could have been doing that. So we just attack it in a different way, and try to build that bond and that relationship with them, where maybe, hey, somebody may listen and they may not do whatever negative thing, and change, So I think the number one thing is building relationships. If you can build relationships with these kids, with the youth, I think you can get more and more out of them. If they trust you, if they believe you, if they know that they can, come back and rely on you and be heard. And I think that's one of the best things, is to allow them to speak to you, and have that communication where it can go back and forth, that would help.
Okay. Do you kind of see the same pattern on a football field? Because with sports, maybe it's a little different. There's still like the goal. In school, you can find someone that doesn't care about school. They want to fail.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on the field to play a sport, you want to win.
For sure.
You know? And if I'm on your team, I'm putting my faith in you, coach, to lead us to the victory. But do you see these same changes in behavior also happen on the football field?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
they were still acting differently. Whether you would draw a play or tell one player from the team, hey, I want this from you, and then you would find backlash. Like, how would the backlash happen on a football team?
Let's take that back a little bit.
Okay.
No, the play is designed a certain way, and they know they need to execute it this way in order for it to succeed. Where the change has happened is how many times you have to tell them that, we have to work hard. We have to practice faster, for example. Or we have to make sure we're doing good in school. We have to respect everybody. We have to respect our teachers. That has became harder and harder as time has has gone on. But as far as the play itself or what you're trying to execute, they understand because you have film, you watch film, and they understand that they need to execute that play this way. You may have a certain way of teaching them how to execute that play. This is where I think you're coming from, where they say, I can do it this way. So yeah, that kind of has changed a little bit.
So that does happen.
That does, but not as much as people think, because as the coach, you still have control.
Yeah.
And they still believe. And once again, it still goes back to relationships. It still goes back to them trusting you because you've built this. You've built this over time. So if they know that you're giving your all, if they come to practice and they know that I'm not prepared, how are they going to believe me?
Yeah.
But if they come to practice and all my coaches can tell them A, B, C, and D, and this is what this guy's going to do, and this is what this, they have no choice but to believe them,
Yeah.
and then to execute it the way we're asking them to execute it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Because it's there. It's in sports. It's black and white. It's like right there for them to see. This is how when this guy is lined up this way, this is what he does. And then you show them on film, and they watch it and they see it, So that's how it works.
Another thing with sports is you have always a lot of personalities on the team. You have the alpha that comes, that
True.
demands the attention.
True.
You have the person that wants to be the alpha, but doesn't have it quite in his personality to be that force on the field or in the locker room. How do you kind of navigate the different types of personalities? How do you talk to the alpha versus how do you talk to the person that knows he's the role player, and he's here to have fun after school, or I'm not sure how exactly it works.
No, you're right.
Yeah. So how do you kind of or the prospect that wants to make it to the NFL, for example?
Believe it or not, things work. They work their way themselves. It kind of fits. And then, yes, you are the one that's directing it. You're the one who's guiding it. You have kids you call the alpha. You have kids that are born leaders. And they step into that role. It's their senior year. people are going to follow them. You have people, like you said, that are followers. In everyone is as important as the next one.
Absolutely.
Because you need leaders, you need guys in the middle, and you need guys that need to follow someone that's going to show them, and then they're going to execute what the guy is showing them. You need all that. And everybody, believe it or not, at some point falls into their role. My job is to, when I see a person that needs to be more vocal, my job is to address that. Tell him, and you have those private conversations, and you get him to, hey, Habibi, listen, you're 1, 2, 3. You're great at this, this, this. I need you to be more vocal to the team. The team, they will listen if you address it. There's kids that could be the alpha by talking, but don't necessarily go out there and work as hard as the guy. So now you have to address this person. Hey, you're very talented. You can get away with all this talent because you're playing at this level. But at the next level, you need to work harder. And for this team to succeed, what do you want out of the season? I want this, this, and this. This is what they say. So, okay, in order for us to get this, this, and this, you need to lead by example.
Yeah.
So it's a nice balance. It's a balancing act, but you need to address each person differently.
I think that's important because, sports, it's a lot similar to real life, so even in our workspaces, even if you have an office job, you're going to walk in and you're going to pinpoint, okay, who's the alpha in the room, who's the leader, who's the one that's just trying to finish, get to 5 o'clock so they can go home and sit with their family, who's here that doesn't even care about working and wants to waste time and isn't even interested. I think that's why I'm asking you this question is I want people to understand how they can deal with all these personalities and why it's important to know who these personalities are, because in our nature we come with ego, and egos play a big role in teams, in the workspace, in just regular everyday life.
Absolutely.
So how do you deal with egos?
There's a big phrase, and when you're coaching, and everybody says you have to be fair. You have to be fair. You have to treat everyone the same. You have to handle everyone the same. And believe it or not, it's not. You can't handle every situation the same. So I may handle you one certain way, and I may handle someone a different way, because this is what is going to help you succeed, and this is what's going to help him succeed. You understand?
Yeah.
This is how you're going to learn, but this is how he's going to learn,
Yeah.
So, and over time, it just became natural to be able to deal with these different mentalities, these different work habits, let's say, or practice habits, or player habits. And once again, I really believe the relationships that you build in having those conversations, those one-on-one conversations, and your expectations. What are your expectations as a coach to these guys? And they're laid out there.
Do you remember a story where you had one of your players going through personal problems and them coming to you for advice?
There's way too many stories to address.
Is there one that stands out to you?
There's one that stands out because I would probably say within the last 10 years of my coaching career is I had a kid. We had practice. I want to say it was on the weekend, like on the Saturday. And usually I pulled up before everybody. And this kid was there. He was on the stairs of the building, and he was waiting there. And I was like, I'm surprised that someone is here before me. Because I usually would set the alarm, open the door and stuff like this. And this kid was there. And I would try to get there like an hour before to decompress, to kind of game plan, to kind of, the practice plan together and maybe watch a little bit of film before we got out there. So this is why I was surprised he was there that early. And then through our conversations, he had slept out there. Which breaks my heart. There was issues at home. We're not naming names, so the issue was, him and his father got into it because his father was either hitting his mother or bad to his mother, and he tried to stick up for her, and he was basically thrown out of the house. So you don't prepare for things like this, but you try to handle them delicately. You try to you maybe give him a hug, you try to assure him. I don't know. It's and those things I think were easy for me to do. It was and you just try to be there. Basically, that's what it is. You just try to be there, and you try to listen. And alhamdulillah, he's done good. He's done good for himself. So that's a positive.
It's difficult seeing him like that an hour before practice, and then you still have to deal with the whole team after.
Okay, so now we're gonna go back.
Yeah.
So let's say that kid had a bad practice that day. Do I get on him and kick him out of practice? Let's say he's not working as hard as the other guy. Do you kick that kid out of practice? So this is where I say you don't handle each situation the same, It breaks my heart that we have things like that. But every community, every probably team has gone through maybe worse than what this kid went through, But it's hard to see anybody go through anything like this, So I guess basically you just try to be there for the kids, and then we were talking about how do you handle the different egos, each person, you handle them the way that fits them, basically.
Yeah. You have to be very emotionally intelligent, Hajj, to do this, because not a lot of people will understand that, okay, this is how I'm supposed to deal with someone that's laying on the bench because he get kicked out of his house. Some people would say maybe the proper way to do it is give him a pep talk. Tell him, hey, 1, 2, you gotta be your own man. You gotta take care of yourself. Stop relying on your father. Another person will tell him, hey, go talk to your father. See if you guys can work something out. Apologize. At least stay inside of the house. You have to really be very emotionally intelligent to take care of that.
I don't know if emotionally intelligent, if I would call myself that.
You would have to be a coach for 18 years, and I didn't even start talking about like in high schools there's drug problems that happen.
Yes.
There's maybe people that want, and just off the top of my head, they're on sports teams that maybe want to take steroids. They want to there's a million things that you have to deal with and juggle, and this is not even talking about your personal life. So you would have to have been, and still are, very emotionally intelligent to understand where they're coming from and deal with every person in the way that would fit their situation.
maybe through your studies, you've learned that, and you've learned the term emotionally intelligent. I just see it as something that I did. I see it as natural. I see it maybe because I feel that this is how I would want to be talked to or helped. You know, I don't know. I can't. Like I said, I'm not the brightest guy, so I'm not gonna have the best terminology for things, but I can just do things.
Yeah.
You know, I just know how to communicate with different people. I truly feel you can put me anywhere, and I can communicate with those people, and I can blend with them. I truly believe that,
Yeah.
and maybe that's my gift. I don't know. Maybe Allah has blessed me in that way, you know. So, and maybe that's through my upbringing. Maybe that's through from the South End, and being a part of all these different cultures. So maybe that's what it is. But yeah, if it's emotional intelligence, then thank you for calling me intelligent emotionally.
How do you deal with the the drug situation specifically? Like, have you come across it? The uses of drugs within your team, painkillers, maybe steroids. How do you kind of? What's your experience with that?
Honestly, I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's never necessarily happened, because I would be a fool to think that everyone has been an angel throughout my tenure. No, that's not the case. If I ever found out somebody was doing something, I would address it. We've always addressed it to the team. We've always addressed it as part of our expectations, as part of our guidelines. It's part of the school guidelines as well. So we've always addressed that stuff. Now, has there been incidents where kids had got in trouble for one thing or the other? Yes. And honestly, I've always been someone to give chances. I mean, this is after we've given talks, after we sat down and had that one-on-one. What's going on? What's happening in your life? Why are you doing this? This is not good for you. It's not healthy for you. You're hurting yourself. You're hurting the team, and so on. We've had those conversations. And you try to, once again, guide them and direct them to the right way, to not do things that is going to affect them, maybe them at school, maybe them at home. And ultimately it's going to affect the team. I've been one that's given chances. Maybe this is a fault of mine, and maybe my assistant coaches they'll say this. I'm sure they'll say this, that over my time I've given too many chances.
Okay.
Where if a kid did mess up, that I may suspend them for a game. I may discipline them by doing exercises or running or the different things that we did on the field. But I've always tried to give them a second chance. Sometimes maybe a third chance. Maybe sometimes it has hindered the team, But I just could not see myself quitting on a kid. I could not see myself letting this kid fend for himself. And I truly believe that at some points it did hinder the team.
Okay.
But saving or helping save this kid was more important than what we accomplished in terms of wins and losses. So this is how I've lived my life. I'm a very competitive person. I want to win just as much as the next guy, if not more than the next guy. But I've at some point, I realized what's more important.
Can I give you my take on it? It seems like what you're saying is you messed up the first time. Let's say they caught you smoking weed, just for the sake of the example. I can either let you go off the team and punish you that way, but then you're just going to go, and rather than coming to football practice, you're going to be smoking weed, and I know that you're going to be smoking weed. Or I can be like, you know what? I'll give you another chance. Come back to the team, and that way you know for the duration of the practice, this gentleman will not be smoking weed. He will be playing football with his friends.
Yes. Yes, you hit it right on the nose. I may not have told them that way in particular. I may have kicked them out of practice or kicked them off the team. But I've always had a coach that would go bring them back. Because you need to show the other kids that this is not right, this is not good, and this could be the consequences of screwing up. But in turn, making sure that somebody brings them back, making it seem like he's coming back and asking if he can come back and apologizing and
Promising he won't do it
promising that he's not going to do it again. And now, you know, you've helped the team. They've seen how you're going to react to it. Maybe I'm giving the secret away here. But also maybe helping this kid stay off the streets.
Yeah.
And yes, those kids, you said it so perfectly. Those kids for 3 to 4 to 5 hours a day during school, after school, are with us, are in our control. We watch what they are doing. And we know that they are not doing anything that they should not be doing. And we would practice maybe longer because of those situations.
Okay.
We would stay at that school. And I know they didn't, like sometimes they would get tired of being there because we were there so long. But that did not allow them to be on the streets, especially during the summertime. Because when they were in school, at least they got to get up, they got to go to classes, then they come to practice, and then they really don't have a lot of time by the time they get home to get in too much trouble.
Right.
You know, because they got to wake up the next day. But during the summertime, if you only have them there for an hour or two,
that's plenty of time.
That's plenty of time, you know. So yeah, we kind of made it 5-6 hours a day, and sometimes that probably worked against us because
you were too tired.
They were too tired of it, you know.
Yeah.
So
across these 18 years, what have you seen been the best motivators for these kids? You know, motivation and getting up every day is it's a topic that gets talked about too many times online. Everyone wants to try to get motivated. They're looking for motivators. On a football field, you're going to have people that maybe are not interested that day or they're unmotivated. And as the coach, you give them the pep talk. You change maybe their perspective on things. What are the best motivators that you've seen for the past 18 years?
I was blessed to be in a position to take over a program that had established a culture prior to me being there.
Okay.
Coach Lewis, Coach Justice, Coach Sturgalis, those guys had laid the foundation and built on top of this foundation, and they built a name, the program's name, you know, and I was blessed to play for them, for example. But by the time I took over, the kids are really self-motivated when it comes to playing Fordson football.
Okay.
So they're going to work, for the majority of time, they're going to work hard. Now, do they have those days where they're tired or, they're really not into it as much as other days? Yes, they do that. And I think this is what you're speaking about, where, what's going to motivate? It's you. You motivate them. Their teammates are going to help motivate them. The alpha dog is going to motivate them, It could be the person that is not that alpha. It could be that follower that is working harder that day than them. That's going to help motivate them, And then ultimately, what's a big motivator? Is playing time. Playing time. Getting on the field when the game's going on. And if you want to play, you have to do X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
And so that's a motivator in itself, Sometimes it could be a family. We're blessed to be in a community where you have families that have gone through this program, the Baidoons, the Saads,
So it's legacy in a way.
There's a legacy there. And sometimes that's the motivator for them. So there's multiple things that can motivate kids. It could be being first in that particular sprint, for example. It could be maybe you're not running if you finish in this time.
Yeah.
So there's different ways of doing things.
There's I hear a lot that there's multiple types of coaches. There's the tactician. Is you go back into the locker room at halftime. You're down, you're losing. He gives you a game plan. This is what we have to do. This is how I see it should go. And then another type of coach would be the motivator, the pep talk. You go in there, you either yell at them, you maybe break a chair, or I saw in the Fordson movie, you kicked a chair, you were trying to give them that pep talk. What did you feel like you leaned more on, the tactical side or the motivator side?
I feel it was whatever that particular team was missing.
Okay.
So like early in my career, I had a coach that was a big motivator. So I leaned more into the tactical aspect of it. As later in my career, I had really good, smart coaches where they made more of the adjustments at halftime.
Okay.
And so my job was more of, hey, let's go out and execute what we just went over. And it was more of the motivator, So I think the one thing that I was able to do was I was able to read our team, read our coaching staff, and I was able to see what I needed to do in order for us to improve or to get better at.
Yeah. What did you enjoy more?
I enjoyed being an assistant coach.
Really?
I enjoyed coaching a particular position.
Was it too much pressure?
It wasn't the pressure.
What was it?
It was... So you mentioned 18 years. 18 years as a head coach.
Yes.
31, 32 years overall. For those first, 13 years, I coached. I coached the position. I coached kids. I tried to get them better in that particular skill, for example. When you become a head coach, you wear a lot of different hats. There's the administrative side. There's dealing with the parents, for example. So you have to wear that hat, and you have to. I mean, There's communicating with parents. There's the motivator, what you were talking about. There's coaching your coaches, for example. There's the community service aspect of being a head coach where, you know, hey, we got to get our team to do this, this, and this, you know. So there's many different things that I feel, this is me, and it's not everybody, but this is me, where as a head coach, to be a good head coach, to run a good program, to continue the success that the program has had, you needed to do all of these different aspects of coaching. So you ask me, why do I say as an assistant? Because you're not responsible for any other stuff. Yeah. You're not responsible for making sure that you're in the weight room. For 18 of those years, I pretty much ran our off-season weight program with a few help here and there, you know, which is a crucial part of the team. Yeah. You know, so that takes time.
Did it affect your personal life?
Alhamdulillah, I say I am blessed. I've had a great wife. To this day, she's very supportive. Thank God she didn't understand much about the game in itself. You know, they say there's one of two things. Either your wife needs to be extremely smart in the game, understand the game really, really well, or understand nothing of the game.
Okay. It's either or.
It's either or. That's what they say. So my wife really didn't understand that much, but she supported me because she seen the passion and the love that I had for doing what I was doing. And I was doing this before we got together, before we met each other. And she's always been supportive. And I thank God for my kids. My kids grew up in it. You know, they, you know, got into sports. And I had my son who played for me as well. So they were always involved in athletics.
Was it weird?
So it did not really affect, but it affect when they were younger, I was not there. And she bore the more of the responsibility of taking and bringing our kids, because where was I? I was at
the field.
At the field.
Were you not scared that when you were away from your kids and you know that they were your wife, that it was deja vu? Like, I'm away from my kids, I'm at work, just like my father was. You had gone.
Wow. I never thought of that. I'm sorry I cut you off while you were saying your statement. Wow, but I never thought about that. I don't know. Maybe subconsciously it was, you know. But honestly, I did not think about that I was not there as they were growing up as much. Now, we still had that relationship. You know, I still communicated with my kids when I came home, but my wife was the one who was the rock, you know, or who is the rock. You know, she kept us, you know, together because she was a part of the PTA, not me. She was a PTA president, not me, you know. I tried to attend as many things as I could, but I never looked at it in a bad way because I always felt that, well, these are my kids as well.
Yeah, it's your purpose.
You know, this is what I'm doing this for. So I'm also helping. Honestly, I never looked at them any differently.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
That's so interesting. I just mentioned the Fordson movie, the documentary that happened about Fordson. I heard a rumor that you didn't really want to do it.
Not a rumor.
Was it true?
It's very true.
Why?
I want to say it was one of my first years, if not the first year, taking over as the head coach.
Okay.
And my concern was just coaching.
You want to focus on the game?
And doing the best job that I could without any distractions. trying to continue the success of this program.
Why did you end up doing it then?
Rashid Ghazi, who is responsible for this movie,
The director.
The whatever, he financed, he did everything. He's a great guy, and maybe one day he should be on your podcast.
Yeah.
He came to me and he goes, listen. First of all, he said, I'm a Muslim. Because I was hesitant. I didn't know who it was. I didn't know what they were doing. It was the anniversary of 9/11 was the big selling point, and so I was unsure. But he said, I'm a Muslim. I want to tell the story, and I want people to see Islam in a different way. And I think this is he's involved in putting games on and high school games on and stuff. So this is part of his job.
Okay.
So and he convinced me in that way. I said, Rashid, I'll tell you what. If you can get the district to approve, I'll do it.
Okay.
And then I got him in touch with several people that helped convince the district, and that's how it happened.
And that movie happened. That movie is, for anyone who hasn't watched it, I'll probably include it in the description. But it's such an interesting timestamp of what was going on. It's such a good, real representation of Arab America, especially Dearborn. Were you satisfied with the results of that movie?
Other than losing in the playoffs, yes, I was very satisfied, and the feedback was tremendous.
Okay. Well, speaking of losing, did you ever win a state championship with Fordson?
Personally, as the head coach, no, I did not.
Okay.
I did not.
So in those 18 years, you tried every season, and it didn't
We've
happen.
had some really successful years. We were a game away several times, and then it never materialized. And if there is a regret, that is a huge regret that we weren't able to finalize winning that. So
does it stink?
I would have to live with. I do, since I just decided that I'm going to retire, that I'm going to have to live with that.
So it does stink.
100%. 100% it stings. Yeah. I mean, I love my job for everything that we've been speaking about. For the relationships, for helping, for what you call being a mentor, for everything that we've been speaking about. But I'm also a very competitive person. I might not look at it with my stature, but I want to win. I wanted to compete. I want to compete, and I want to win. And it didn't matter what it was. So if it was a game of chess right now, not that I'm not good at chess, but I would want to beat you.
Yeah.
It's in my nature to do that. And growing up and being a part of athletics, that's always been something that I wanted to do. So yes, it stings in that. But is there a lot of great things that have come out of me being the coach and aside from the winning and losing aspect of it, that have come to yeah, absolutely.
When do retirement thoughts start coming to your head? At what point?
Let me take a drink real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
So when did retirement start coming into my head? So we had a really, really good team. Maybe in 2022.
Okay.
And it was my son's senior year.
Okay.
Yeah. And we fell short. We lost to Belleville, who was kind of, them and Castec have always been, a pain, a thorn in our backside. So, and it's after that season, it was, these seasons, they're very, very emotional. The highs and lows are
extreme.
Are very extreme. And the high is never as low as, the high is never as high as the low is as low. It's, the loss hurts a lot more
than the high
of a win. And you don't think about the win nearly. After you win, it's over with. It's on to the next one. You don't really enjoy it. And the loss, it hurts so much that it just stings and stays with you for a long time. So after that season, it was, it was very hard. It was very hard because we had a team. We had a good enough team. And it didn't work out, And things happen. Things happen, and it is what it is. And you try to move on. But at that point, I was kind of contemplating, what am I going to do, Took some time off, obviously, let the kids rest a little bit before preparing for the season. But the energy shifted back, and I got back into it, going through the struggle of getting the team ready and all of that again. And then, there's and some of the things that played a role in me thinking like that as well is the turnover in staff, And the more and more there was turnover in staff, it kind of played a role in me, kind of starting to think about it.
Okay.
I was having fun. The kids, the coaching staff, it was fun to be with that coaching staff, We built relationships. They're friends. Whether they were younger than me, I guess at one point I was the oldest guy on the staff. So they were all kids that might have played for me, or I had coached, or they were younger than me. And we've built those relationships, and you get close. You're spending half the day with them anyways. So when there's a constant turnover in coaches, it kind of plays a role in you kind of losing that spark a little bit. So I can't say for anybody else. For me, it did. And you can't fault anybody. You can't fault anybody for what they were trying to do for their life. Some coaches decided that they needed to move on to help start a family, for a better job. Because look, when you're coaching, it's pennies on the time, pennies on the hours that you spend in there. Aside from the emotional ups and downs that you go through, the emotional heartbreaks, So aside from that, you can't fault for anybody trying to improve their life. And I never did. I would never fault anybody for that. But let's be honest, at some point, it gets to you, it's hard to replace good people.
Yeah.
In any profession, it's hard to replace good people. And we had some really good people. And you asked about the tactician or the motivator. At one point, I really, truly believe that I was coaching with guys that were better coaches than me, that were brighter than me, Not were, they are. They are smarter in football. They're good tacticians, as you stated. And like I mentioned earlier, I was there just to kind of keep them together, And this is why it worked. And it worked well for a lot of years, other than being able to finish.
What the highs are high, but the lows are even lower. Do you think part of that is because of like the expectation, or you'll understand this because you're in sports and you hear a lot of this in sports talk, is before you get to the championship, you imagine yourself with the championship in your hand. Do you feel like that year in particular was your son's senior year, that vision of, I'm going to win the championship with my son on the team, and then when it crashes, that whole dream crashes with it? So you didn't just lose the game, you lost the dream, essentially.
Well, obviously that would have been very, very special to do it, and to do it with my son being a part of the team. I don't know. No, I can't just say that was because of that. You know, I felt that just because of that team. I mean, there was other teams. There was my second year, the team advanced all the way to, one game away, and we lost in the semifinal game. So in that, I remember breaking down and crying because of that game.
I was just about to ask you if you ever cried after a game.
Walking off the field, because I wanted it so much. And wallah, I promise, I never looked at it for me. I never, it wasn't about me. It was always about the kids and the community.
Yeah.
That's who it was for. Fordson has played such a special role in my life that it was important for me to represent it in the best way possible, and to try to achieve that. And in representing Fordson, to me, is representing our community. And representing our community is representing my family.
Yeah.
And my faith. So those things have always been extremely important for me. So when I would be emotional, when I would be upset after a loss, or even being happy after a win, it was more for, look at the kids, look how the kids are, whether they're happy or upset. Look at how the community, this is for, if we won, it's for the communities, for the school, So it was never like because I want my name as the guy who won. Never. And I can swear, you bring me the Quran right now, I'll swear on the Quran, it was never for me.
Always for the kids.
Absolutely. And they were number one. The kids were number one. They have, and they will continue to be number one. The program is not it's not Fouad. The program is not Coach Stragalis. The program is not Coach Justice. That's not the program. The program is Fordson High School. They started this program and continued this program. And I was able to be a part of the program. But it's always been about the kids in that program. Because without them, you won't have anything.
Was your last day on the field difficult?
I did not make the decision until, I would say, a few weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yes. Like, finalize my decision. Was I leaning? Was I leaning to this way? Probably. But, yeah, it's not like I said, okay, after this year, I'm going to retire.
Okay. So it wasn't until after the season ended?
It was after the season ended. There were some struggles that I was going through that was maybe during the season playing a role in how I felt and stuff. And but I did not finalize my decision until, I would say, well, now probably a month ago,
Are you happy?
It's bittersweet. It really is bittersweet. I'm happy in the sense that recently my wife and kids and I were able to go do ziyarah. That was very, very special to me. And it was very special. Alhamdulillah, I've been before, but Alhamdulillah, this time around, it was even more special because we were able to be together. So those are the things that I'm happy about.
Okay.
That I could be, maybe experience some of those things that we can do, we can be together, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it is during the season next year. We'll see how I feel during the season. I can't explain to you. I've never not been
a part of it
since, I don't know, since I started playing, since maybe middle school. I've always been a part of it. So next year, we'll see.
You might have seen this device on the wrists of major league athletes, from football to soccer to basketball to golf. And there's a reason why the people who care about their fitness the most, who depend on their fitness for a living, are wearing this device. Whoop is a fitness wearable that is meant to be worn 24/7. It tracks the most important vitals of your health, from your sleep to your recovery to your strain, like the hard work that you put on your body. It even counts your steps, your heart rate variability. It does it all. And because you're a listener of this podcast, Whoop wants you to try their product out for free. You go to join.whoop.com/notfromhere. They're going to send you Whoop 4.0. You try it for a month. You're going to fall in love just like how I did. But if you don't, you can just return it and it ends at that. Again, that's join.whoop.com/notfromhere, or click the link in the description below. And now back to the episode. Okay. So if you think you're going to feel that itch, would you go back?
I don't think I'll be a head coach, at least at Fordson. I don't think I'll be a head coach. And if I feel the itch, like let's say it's at Fordson, I would be as an assistant, But right now, I would say probably not.
Did you ever have like the feeling that you wanted to go professional, like as in like the big leagues? Like, was that ever in your head? Like, maybe I can make this like a coaching, like a professional career. Yeah.
Professional career.
Yeah.
Honestly, no, I can't say that.
Okay, you never thought about
it? I did not. That was not something that I did not want to be the head coach at Fordson High School. That just kind of fell into my lap. And when the opportunity arose, I think it was by default. I did go through interview process and all of that, and we got to go back about one of the main heroes of this community, Mr. Imad Fadlallah. But anyways, I interviewed with him. We talked about it, and ultimately I got the job. So, yeah, that wasn't that. I just wanted to help the program. That's it. I wanted, like when I was an assistant, I was very satisfied with being an assistant coach at Fordson High School, giving back to the school and to the community that I grew up in and that I love.
You bring up Imad. I had an interview with Ali, his son.
Yes.
And I wasn't there. I wasn't here at that time. So he kind of like introduced me to like what his father did here.
Mm-hmm.
And was he like a third father figure? Like, again, with the father figures, with the mentors. Like, it's one thing being a coach. It's one thing, and then it's another thing to embrace all these kids. And it seemed like with my conversation with Ali, that's what his father wanted to do. He wanted to see these kids do better, be better. So did that kind of influence you or inspire you to kind of take a lead in that role?
Well, definitely. Imad, Allah yarhamu, played a major role in many people's lives in this community. Imad, he was, I think he was a parapro when I was in high school. I'm not 100% on the label that he had or the title that he had, but this is how he started. And he was making sure our kids were doing the right things from that time. So I was still in high school and he was doing that. And then come full circle, we were working together. And I remember this so vividly when I took the job, when he offered me the job. How do I say it in English? I'm going to work you like a dog.
He told you that?
He told me that. I told him, ala rasi, whatever you need, I'm here.
Why did he tell you that?
Because his expectations were more than just sports. I was taking over the football program.
He understood what?
He understood the responsibilities of our profession.
Was that a slap in the face?
No, I did not take it that way. No, I think maybe
a wake-up call. Like,
was it a wake-up call? If you know Imad, no.
Okay. So it wasn't at that moment.
He set the bar way up here.
Yeah.
He set the bar way up there, and you had to bring your A game every day.
How do you deal with grief, with loss?
Which
We've mentioned 3 very important people in your life in this conversation.
I'm a very emotional person. Maybe you've noticed.
People wouldn't maybe think of that because you're a football coach, you're tough, you're around men all day. The testosterone's jumping up the walls probably. But you are very emotional.
My kids, and I call them my kids, they've witnessed it. After a loss, for example, particular losses, I wouldn't say just a day, after the season. Usually, unless you win it, you're losing.
Right.
The last game of the year, right?
Right.
So they've seen the emotional side. And really, the emotional side is when you see them. When you see their heart is broken. When you see them crying. But I'm an emotional person anyway. So when I can watch something on television and I can get emotional. So.
But I was talking more about these very important individuals in your life.
My point is, it's in me. The sensitivity is in me where I think of these people, I can get emotional, or I do get emotional. And they, unfortunately, they all played such a major role in my life. And I credit every single one of them with helping me become who I am today.
How did you deal with the grief? Or what are the best ways that you maybe talk to yourself to get over the passing of someone near and dear to your heart?
Islam is a very important and played a major role in my life. And I've learned through Islam and through reading the Quran how to deal with things. Okay, that has helped me quite a bit, you know.
Okay.
And just me personally, I don't know. I've learned how to deal with things. Now, don't get me wrong. You'll see me crying, You'll see me heartbroken. But I don't let that control me or affect every aspect of my life for the rest of my life.
So you don't see a problem with men crying?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I guess if I did, I wouldn't be a man, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't see that. I'm not into this being this masculine type of guy, and I can't cry, or I can't be emotional, or I can't speak about my feelings, you know. Maybe my family would kind of disagree with me where I don't necessarily speak about my feelings to them. But no, I don't see an issue with that.
Yeah. I read this the other day, and it said that opportunity disguises itself in hard work, and that's why most people don't see it. Opportunity disguises itself as hard work, and that's why most people don't see it. I want you to look back and think about opportunities that maybe your team had, and like, does that sting you as a coach, knowing that this person had so much potential, and it just lacked the hard work, and that's why they didn't get to where they wanted to be?
Yes, there's there's many instances or many cases that people would have achieved more, or the kid could have achieved more if they would have put more into it or did the right things. Maybe it could have been in the classroom. Maybe it could have been away from the field doing the right things. Maybe the situation at home. So there's many instances where I believe that certain kids could have had a better opportunity to go to school, to get. Ultimately, what am I trying to do? Yes, we want to win when we're on the field. You want to raise a championship trophy, but ultimately, my job is to do what? To get these kids to college.
Yes.
And to have them go to school, hopefully, without having to pay for school, and to get an education so they can have a better opportunity in life when they become husbands and fathers. So there is many kids that I believe could have had this opportunity, but for one reason or another decided that, or sometimes it was the parents deciding not to let them go away to school. We've had kids that had opportunities to go have scholarships and not have to pay for school, but they didn't allow them from our community because our people, they want our kids to stay here.
Right.
Okay. The difference from some of these other cities is they want their kids to
go out,
to be able to go get an education, or maybe they even think that they can make it to the professional level.
Yeah.
You know? One thing about our community is we're comfortable with keeping our own here.
Yeah.
You know? Which sometimes is a hindrance. A lot of times it's a great thing. It's a great thing. And I don't have an issue with it. But there's some times where it is a hindrance to our development as people. Maturing, learning how to adapt to the different types of cultures out there.
Yes.
You know? And maybe even being able to learn and come back and help this community.
Yeah.
So there has been some kids that had some opportunities. How do I feel? It hurt me. It hurt me for them that they're not going to have this opportunity.
Has that happened in your life where you've missed an opportunity?
I'm sure. I never looked back at it.
Okay.
But I'm sure that there had been some opportunities where, like you mentioned, maybe trying to move up in the level of coaching. I think at some point, if I really wanted to, pave a path for this avenue, that I could have tried. Maybe earlier on in my career, coach a couple of years and try to get to the college level.
Yeah.
And then after the college level, try to catch on at a bigger college. And then maybe catch on at a NFL level. That wasn't my dream. It may be other people's dream, but it just was not my dream.
It wasn't yours. Now that I want to say you've concluded this part of your life, like the football, the coaching, the teaching, the school part. Okay? After being a father figure for these kids for over 30 years, pair that with what we were talking about in the beginning of losing your father at the moment you were building that relationship with him. What would a conversation between you and your dad look like today after you just retired from being a father to all these kids?
Wow. I would thank him. I would thank him for playing such an integral part, for allowing me to become who I've become, and allowing me to be able to have these relationships and being able to handle these relationships with the youth as I have. On top of that, it would be the conversations from an Islamic perspective. He was well read from an Islamic perspective. He was well read. And I've, over the last probably 20 years, maybe 25 years, maybe right before his death, I began to do some reading. Maybe mid-20s, I would say, I started to read, and research and do different, take a look at different perspectives from different religions. It wasn't only Islam, just different religions. And I would have those conversations
with him
to,
pick his brain on it.
Yeah, to pick his brain, to have that dialogue, that discussion, to talk about the hard work, how hard he worked, to help raise us.
Do you still think about him often, even after 25 years?
I don't tell anybody this, I catch myself sometimes looking in the mirror and boom, it's like I seen him. Maybe I resemble him. Maybe I catch myself starting to look more and more like him. I don't know. But sometimes I'll be driving and I look in the rearview mirror. It's like I get taken aback.
It's Baba.
Yeah. Look, time heals all wounds. The hurt of losing him becomes a little easier and easier.
Okay.
But they're always there.
So you
always think about them. This is how they would have handled this, for example. oh, I remember him, he did this, and this, you know. And same thing goes with Popeye. Same thing goes with Imad, for example. You know, and obviously Imad's situation is more geared towards the education and the help of the youth, you know. Or certain things that he you know, things that are engraved in my brain, that like walking into his office and seeing in his office, you know, certain things that are there that I remember. So yeah, they're always there. Could I say that it's on a daily basis? No, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that every day I'm thinking about them. No, but there's certain times, certain instances where you do reflect back and you think about your time with them, or how would they have handled this situation, or what would they have said in this, you know, instance.
That's awesome. Because I always thought about people who have lost their parents a long time ago. But both of my parents are still alive, alhamdulillah. Habibi, thank you so much. But I always think about them passing away, and I'm like, how long does the hurt last? And if the hurt, like you said, time heals all wounds. If the wound is healed, do they still cross my mind? Are they still going to be with me, even after 20, 30, 40 years? I like to believe that they'll always be a part of my life. And that's why I'm interested in seeing how you feel.
Okay, so I'm going to look at it a little differently here. So I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
How's your relationship?
Very good. My parents are my best friends.
Okay, so if your parents are your best friends and you're building these memories in your, you know, in your relationship, do you not think, like, as you're getting older, as you get married, are you married yet?
Yeah, I just got married.
You just got, Allah yahnikum.
Habibi.
And once you have kids, do you not think that this is going to play a role in you raising your kids?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So as your kids get older and stuff, these little instances are going to remind you of your parents. So you're not going to, I guess I can speak for myself. And I'm going to say I'm almost confident and positive that you will remember, because that's always going to be there as a reminder for you.
So you'll go through these moments and you'll be like, oh, Baba did this. Or I remember when Mama did that.
I'm not like a vocal in the sense to, I don't like necessarily tell my kids.
Yeah, but no, it crosses your mind.
But it crosses my mind. It's there. It's there. Okay, we were talking off camera. What am I doing now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm managing a gas station for my uncle. Okay. This is the same station that my father did, worked at, and managed for my uncle. So that's a memory, that's a reminder every day now. Now, as time goes, yeah, it becomes second nature and you're just going through your work and stuff like this. But when I first got to that station, there was writing in Arabic. And it was his, that he wrote, you know, that he, you know, a little note for himself here and there.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. You know, like I opened the safe, for example, and I just, you know, the memory is there. My uncle told me a story that he told my father to save him money. Like, take out money here and there and just put it on the way and save it for me on the side. Don't take it to the bank. So after, I don't know how long, my uncle forgot about it. So my father asked him, you know, what do you want to do with this money? Actually, no, it wasn't even that. After he passed. After he had died, my uncle went and opened the safe. He found $30,000 there that my father had. So that safe is a reminder for me. So that story that he told me, my uncle had told me, is like, so I'm dealing with the same safe.
Yeah.
So it's a reminder to me on a daily basis, you know. So just little things like that. There's always little reminders that you see or remind you of them.
Allah yarhamu. Allah yarhamu. Thank you so much, Hajj. This was a wonderful conversation.
Thank
and
you.
I really have a very good feeling that we'll have another one of these again.
Inshallah. Inshallah. Wallah, thank you, Jaafar. This is a pleasure. I was surprised when you contacted me, and inshallah, this only can serve and help our youth, our community, and inshallah we'll see each other again.
Inshallah.